This is Trophy Gold, a Wizard, part one of three. So, I think what I want to start, or what I want to start doing, or what I want to start by having all of us introduce ourselves. So, when I call on you, please say your name, your pronouns, and anything else you'd care to share with us, or people watching the video. I'll start though. My name is Jason. I use he, him. They is also fine. I am the co-publisher of Trophy Gold, along with its creator, Jesse Ross. And I have run so much Trophy Gold. I've run a lot of Trophy Gold for everybody here on the call, except for Alex. I don't think I've played Trophy Gold with you yet. And I'm excited to try out this module, a wizard. Let's go over to Alex.
Hello, I am Alex. He, him, they is also fine. Yeah, I've run a lot of Trophy Gold. I've never actually played Trophy Gold, so I'm very excited to actually be in the player seat for once. And yeah, I'm the co-host of the Dark and Threshold podcast alongside Jason, and I write for games.
Fantastic. Thank you so much. Let's go to Merwin.
My name's Merwin. I use he, him pronouns. Been playing a number of Trophy Gold and Trophy Dark incursions. I haven't run it yet, but that's next on my list.
Fabulous. Thank you so much. And Rob.
I'm Rob, he, him. I have played a bunch of Trophy, mostly run by Jason, and currently in an ongoing campaign. And one of these days I'll get around to running it. I seem to have run everything other than Trophy recently. So
Thank you. And Jack.
Yeah, Jack. Any pronoun is fine. I am in the same actual play with Rob and Jason, Scoundrels Quarter. It's been really fun. I've never run Trophy Gold yet. I do intend to soon. But I've heard this particular incursion is pretty grisly and excited for that.
Indeed, indeed. And I guess to be fair, we should call it a module since incursion, that's a trophy word. That's our little precious word for adventure module in Trophy Land. Fantastic. Okay, so everybody here has played Trophy Gold, so I'm not going to, or at least run it or played it. I am not going to do my normal introductory stuff that I do for the system. If you're watching this video and you're curious about Trophy Gold, and in particular how to introduce it to new players, I have so many other videos on my channel that you can go to watch. Just find the part one of pretty much any playlist, and that's Trophy Gold, and you'll find that information. I do want to talk a little bit though about this module that we're going to be doing, and sort of just a couple of Trophy Gold rules things as it sort of intersects with the module. So I will say that this module, a wizard, is a pretty, on the surface, I would say it's a pretty standard dungeon crawl. This is going to be a very dungeon crawl kind of thing. There may be some space for more interesting character development and inter-character interaction, and I look forward to that, to you all finding that space. But my job is to run the dungeon, and that's what I'm going to be doing. Fortunately, as players of Trophy Gold, you have lots of power in terms of like sort of shaping the story, and so that is something I do want to talk about. The story in Trophy Gold is, so this we're doing an interesting thing running a module, because the module has a really set series of events, right? Like there's a beginning, there's an end, there's definite things that happen when you do this or open that door or do whatever. But because we're playing Trophy Gold, which is a game that very much is in the more collaborative storytelling sort of genre of role-playing game, there's a lot of opportunity for us to change the story in ways that the module did not foresee. Now, I am more than capable of adapting on the fly as far as that goes, so don't feel like you are disrupting what the module intends too much. I sometimes find that players who are maybe more accustomed to more traditional dungeon crawl games are scared of making suggestions that they think might interfere with the module text. Don't worry about that. I've got it. So just play the game as it wants to be played. Introduce cool new story elements. We will incorporate it into the dungeon and keep on rolling. We will still get the A Wizard experience regardless, so don't worry too much about that. Speaking of the A Wizard experience, it is just a dungeon crawl. I say that kind of not to be dismissive because I love a dungeon crawl, but it does have a real particular flavor as far as dungeon crawls go. I don't want to spoil anything, but I will say that it'll become pretty apparent pretty quickly what this module's particular vibe is. Because of this module's particular vibe, I'll keep using that Weasley phrase. Because of its particular vibe, I am going to say for safety tools, we're going to be doing roaming lines and veils, meaning we're not going to line and veil things in the beginning, but if something comes up in the game that we think we don't want to do story-wise, we can line it or veil it right then. Lines, of course, are things that we're not going to have in the story. Veils are things that we are okay with being in the story, but we prefer to not role play that. So in the spirit of this being a module with a particular vibe, we are going to do roaming lines and veils. We'll also have the X card available. If something happens in the story that you find objectionable for some reason, you can just say X card or type it in the chat and we'll change whatever it was. And then we'll also be doing the open door policy. You can leave for any reason. You don't have to explain yourself. So with all that said, I think I want to go ahead and just turn to character creation. So at this point, I'm going to pause the video while we get the characters sorted out, and then we'll come back and introduce them. Okay, we are back. We're going to go ahead and introduce these characters. I'm going to go in the order of the sheet. I think I want to mostly focus on the basics. You know, occupation, background, drive is really important. What skills you have, what rituals you have. If you have something particularly fun in your backpack, you can tell us about that as well. I do think that as far as drives go, as much as you know about your drive at this point, tell us, but it's okay if you haven't worked it all out yet. That's part of what we do when we play the game is figure out more about your drive. So let's start with Alex and Esfahan.
Yes, Esfahan, as I'll be calling her. Her occupation is an oracle. Her background is an uninspired artisan. Her drive is to inscribe her mother's name in the Azure archives, which I'll speak on that in a moment. And her skills are interpretation, rituals, trances, and crafting. She has the ward ritual, so she can concentrate to protect a small area. And I don't know, I have a bag of hard candies among some other things, though. It's constantly snacking on sweets. Yeah, I like utilizing Trophy Loom for things. So I'm gonna while everyone else is going, I'm gonna be looking at some Azure Archive stuff to figure out like what's going on there.
Good. Yeah, I love that. You are absolutely loaded up with combat equipment too.
Oh, 100%. She is ready.
Probably
to
a
go.
wise move, yeah, because you might die easily otherwise. But your character might not. You know, if you don't collect enough treasure, then this is your last character's. This is your character's last foray. Okay, love all that. So I'm really interested by uninspired artisan. I'm curious, the word uninspired, whose perspective that is from, like your own or people looking at your art?
Oh, it's absolutely the outside opinion because in her mind, people just don't understand the what she's going for, and everyone's too picky these days. Everyone's looking for innovation and artistry. I make good things and people are dumb. That is basically the long and short of it.
Love it. Thank you, Esfahan. All right, Jack, tell us about Aram.
Yeah, Aram is he, him pronouns. His occupation is an ox, which gives him the skills in destruction, persistence, and strength. His background is an oppressed laborer, which gives him a skill in rebellion. And his drive is to arm the resistance against Lord Half-Ear's tyranny. He has the rituals Yoke and Beast. We'll get more to that when I use them. And as far as his drive, a little bit more detail on that, I think that he's a direct victim of that oppression, of that tyranny. And I think that those rituals will tie into that.
Fantastic, thank you. You have a much higher burden score than your combat equipment would suggest you should have.
You should. I just like to make life harder for myself.
You should have a 4 burdens, not a 6.
All right.
Unless you want to add a couple more pieces of armor.
No, I'm just gonna add some stuff.
Okay, sounds good. All right, Rob, tell us about Farron.
Farron is a zealot who was formerly a defrocked priest. His drive is to find the artifact that proves the king's true nature, and I think I interpret that as being he's a priest devoted to Saint Anamartia, who is the patron saint of sinners and redemption. He seeks out sin and tries to put people on the right path, violently if necessary. His skills are interrogation, rituals, strength, and omens. And his rituals are repel and summon, so he can push creatures away and pull them towards him. So he's kind of got this push-pull thing going on. And he is, kind of wears a ornate black armored mask, which is a thing the devotees of Saint Animatia do, according to the Trophy Loom book.
Fantastic, thank you. All right, and let's go finally to Merwin and Rasay.
Rasay is a runaway Kingsguard. I'm imagining that she grew somewhat dissatisfied with the approach her current employer took with regard to his subjects, and decided she didn't want to support him anymore. And so she has gone into hiding and keeping herself out of civilization for the most part. She now works as a naturalist, so she's familiar with beasts, plants, and just sort of staying quiet and being one with nature. Her history as a Kingsguard was tracking down people who had escaped the king, and so that's one of her skills there. She has one ritual available to her, which is to parse, which means she can figure out what any word, writing, sound, sign, or symbol means, which comes in really handy for figuring out where people have gone or what they're up to. Her drive is to rebuild Hisham's fountain, which I'm imagining as the source of reinstalling a devastated area of the forest, somewhat desolate area that can be rebuilt if only she could rebuild the fountain first.
Fantastic, thank you so much. All right, so it looks like we are ready to go. We have our group of treasure hunters, a wizard, a pulsing, writhing horror adventure for old school role-playing games, created by Ripley Caldwell, a wizard. Now, the thing about treasure hunters is we all have your multiple sort of like big ambitious drives, things that cost an extraordinary sum of money. It's almost like it's an ambition that realistically, you're probably never going to reach it, but you strive nonetheless. And at a very simple, basic level, you need money to make that drive happen. And so you can never go wrong, both in life as a treasure hunter and indeed in this game, by seeking treasure. Let that be your motivating factor above all other things in the short term, and everything else should flow as it should. Regrettably, your group has been out in the wilderness for a number of weeks, and you have not acquired much of said treasure. And you cannot go back home until you at least have made enough money to cover your many debts and expenses. And so we find you on the road to a village that you've never heard of, except for the sign that you saw a few miles back. Canny, a very auspicious name, I think. We'll see. On the road to Canny. Let's just have the scene with everybody on the road. I want to see how you all interact with each other a bit, and then I'll interrupt as needed. Roleplay.
I think with Aram, and just as a quick physical description, he's sort of a wiry build, looks a bit gaunt. He's aged physically probably a lot. He looks a lot older than he probably really is. And I think over the weeks he's sort of grown this long, wiry billy goat beard. He has these sort of ram-shaped horn tattoos on the side of his skull. But he's been along this whole journey, I think he's been pretty reserved. Aside from the occasional hunt. But I think that as he's sort of walking behind the others. What's the vibe here? Like, is it sort of like a forest, or is it sort of just like a?
I would say that it's kind of it's a nice, bright, clear day. It is, it is a forested wilderness as a general matter, but you're currently on a stretch of clear-cut road, and it's a part of the region that you've never been to. You've never heard of Canny, but you're just looking for work at
So
this
yeah,
point.
there's a moment where maybe the others see this like beautiful, graceful looking deer just fall into place, fall into the scene. It's feeding on the grass, and as there's maybe marbling at it, there's a quick arrow to the head, and Aram sort of stands there with his heavy crossbow, nonchalantly, and just goes, "Got it."
Esfahan, who is walking a bit ahead of this, a physical description for her. She's a relatively tall woman. Has kind of like a rectangular like face. Maybe in her 30s, but she walks with the weight of someone who is much older. She is donned in this thick, heavy woolen cloak. Has grabbed like a walking stick just for the last few miles. And without turning towards the deer, just eyes forward, she says, "Good, now you get to carry it."
That was the plan.
Yay, more deer. I love eating deer. Just with withering sarcasm and scorn.
Yeah, Aram just casually goes into the clearing, just throws it over his shoulders like a ruff or something like that, and just walks along the others.
First, you should do penance for slaying the beast.
Why?
It is always good to acknowledge your wrongdoings, even when they are necessary.
Did I do something wrong?
You don't believe killing is wrong?
We're going to eat it. I'm going to skin it.
Yes. That does not take away the sin of killing it.
Aram just keeps walking.
Sin, sin, sin. Just kind of mutters under her breath and then looks over to Aram and says, "Aram, before you prepare it, do you mind when we have a moment? I would like to practice my trade on its entrails if you have no use for them."
I don't.
Then very well. I would like very much to use those.
Rasay, what are you up to right now?
Rasay will sort of sidle up to Aram and she'll say, "You only need to ask for forgiveness if you believe you are more than a beast yourself. I personally believe that that is not the case for any of us. We are all animals. We all must eat. It is the way of nature."
Well, I'm not hungry.
I think when Rasay mentions that, Aram gets sort of a sour expression on his face, and his eyes narrow and just look down on her before turning back to the road.
You reach Canny. Well, I like this entrails thing. What are you going to do with those, as fan?
I'm interpreting that her background as an oracle is more specifically in line with she is a Haruspex. And Haruspicy involves divination through entrails.
Mm-hmm. I mean, Aram, do you field strip this thing? It's probably easier to carry that way.
Yeah, I think he'll sort of throw it onto one shoulder and sort of let her access the gut as she will.
Take out my curved ritual knife from her like leather belt, and she'll just kind of like mutter under her breath, and then dig it into its belly and carve it open to let the entrails spill forth. And she begins to like examine them to see if she can glean meaning from the patterns in the organs that spill forth.
Make a hunt roll.
Absolutely.
You have the skill of interpretation and rituals and trances, so I'll let you take it with 2 dice.
Awesome. 2 dice on the hunt roll. 5.
Go ahead and take a hunt roll token, which you have nothing to spend it on yet. Well, you can spend it on treasure, I suppose. But you also encounter something terrible. And the terrible thing you encounter as you are digging around through the entrails, as you're reading I think the entrails actually tell you you are on the road to riches. So congratulations for that. The terrible thing has nothing to do with the oracle itself. The interpretation of the entrails is nothing but positive, the road to riches. I think the regrettable thing is as you are digging around, Risay, you have some interest in the divination of signs and symbols as well, but you do it through your ritual parse. I'm curious, Risay, are you looking over Esfahan's shoulder here, or are you doing something else?
I don't this isn't particularly my mode of operation, so I might glance over, but I'm not going to. These are not the parts of the animal that I would eat, that I would find any particular use from, so I'm not going to be dwelling on them.
Hmm. And Faran, you have a skill in omens. Are you looking over Esfahan's shoulder?
I think yes, but Farhan is also ritually taking some of the blood and washing his. He pulls off his studded gauntlets that he wears and washes his hands with the blood, and then washes the blood off his hands with some water from his skin and puts his gauntlets back on. But yeah, he's watching with interest what Esfahan is doing.
Oh, very well. In that case, you'll notice before it goes too far that there is some sort of strange tooth-mawed black grub that has managed to just crawl inside Esfahan's glove. Esfahan has not noticed, so focused as she is on interpreting the signs within the entrails. What do you do?
I think I wait until Esfahan seems to be complete, and then I will draw her aside and say, corruption is in the heart of all things, it seems, and something from that beast came forth. If you look inside your glove, just be careful.
My glove. She like kind of like eyes it. Looks back up at him. Kind of like squints and like scrutinizes Faran for a moment, like she's not sure what he's playing at, but she just kind of like gives a slow nod. She begins to whisper under her breath as she's using, and especially with her hands dripping of blood. She brings a finger up to her mouth and like bites it to like draw blood and begins to like in circular motion smear that blood around as she whispers her ritual of ward, focusing on her hand and her skin beneath the glove to ensure that if there's something terrible down there, her hand is protected. And then she slowly begins to like pull the glove off to investigate.
I don't need a die roll, but your ward works. Indeed, as you pull your glove off, you see this little tooth-mawed black grub. It's about the length of half your pinky finger. You can see it trying to puncture the skin near your hand so that it can burrow in, but your ward is causing it to just futilely bite at the flesh. What do you do with the grub?
Hello, small thing. Are you hungry? Then I'll just like just tip it and like shake it back onto the like not the deer carcass itself, but like the like the pile of entrails that she's been dragging out of it, and just lets it fall back onto the pile of useless meat.
We can continue on. After the deer is dealt with, and after you have read the signs that you are on the road to riches. I don't know about riches, but the road does certainly lead to Canny, as promised. And so we have our first set goal here. Now, a reminder, set goals are Sometimes they are in-character things that your characters are aware of and you're trying to accomplish. Sometimes they are out-of-character concerns that the players might be interested in seeing the characters accomplish, or myself. And you can accomplish them just through normal play, or if you wish, you can pool 3 hunt roll tokens to automatically accomplish the set goal, which becomes very helpful, especially later in the game when things are really intense and you don't have a lot of ruin score left or whatever, right? But for now, your initial set goal in the village of Canny is quite simply to explore the village of Canny. Canny, flowers everywhere of every kind. They coat the green hills. They pop up in flower beds. They pepper the walking trails. As you approach Canny, you smell comforting smells. It seems like everywhere you turn, there's something cooking. Fresh steak, apple pie, cheesy omelets. You also notice a distinct lack of guards. The citizens here support and take care of their own. You even see a couple of children playing in the streets. Apart from a few houses, there are 3 businesses in the very, very tiny village of Canny. A shop, a blacksmith, and a bakery. Aram, what do you do?
As we enter the town, noticing that there aren't any guards, I think he will turn to the others and say, well, this looks peaceful.
Idyllic even.
I've seen
Yeah.
better.
Should we keep our guard up?
It is always prudent.
Right. And he's just going to sort of wander towards the first shop that he sees. Maybe it's like a butcher's shop or something like that. Something that sort of draws his eye, kind of connects him with the carcass that he's carrying.
There are indeed just 3 businesses: the shop, the blacksmith, and the bakery.
Got it. Okay. Then yeah.
So, which do you want to go to?
He'll head to the bakery.
The bakery. Okay, very good. We'll check in with you in a moment. Rasay, what do you do?
Rasay is oh, you went to the bakery. She's going to relax a bit if there are no guards, because as a runaway Kingsguard herself, it's probably best she stay low. She's going to, if there are, she's going to head to the shop to see what's there. That's what she'll head up and explore.
Faran?
I think if there's maybe a well somewhere, a municipal well, he's going to go to that, draw some water. I think he hides his face as he lifts his mask to drink, but he's just kind of trying to size up this place, see, what kind of work, what kind of industry is this village founded on? What are people doing? Are they farming? There's a blacksmith, but are they, involved in extraction of iron ore or something? Or what is this place all about?
You could just do a hunt roll now to try to get a lay of the land if you wish, Faran.
Yeah, I don't really have any skills that would come to bear. Unless omens, but I don't think that's...
That was the way you
I'll
described
just
it. No.
Yeah, I think I'll just do the single die. A 1.
That is a 1. If you had some hunt tokens, you would lose them all. And you are going to encounter something terrible, which we'll get to in a moment. I will tell you, though, that it has something to do with the fact that there's something splashing around in the bucket that you have not noticed yet, as you're getting ready to put it up to your lips. Esfehen, what are you doing?
Let's see, there's no inn, no tavern, no place with how annoying. I think she's actually gonna go with Aram to the bakery, if that's like I smells, baked goods on the air, and she is interested. And also I mean, she knows she's better at skinning deer than Aram is. And in case that a pelt would fetch some coin, she's better to leave it in skilled hands.
Fantastic. Let's start with the shop and Rasay. The shop is run by an old man who looks very kindly. Much like everything here, it just looks so nice and so quaint, and as Farhan noted, idyllic. This kindly old man with gray but well-kept hair, deep crow's feet, and very ostentatiously and affectedly a bow tie. That's not something you see very often. He greets you when you come in. He says, "Ah, welcome, welcome. I haven't done much business today, so I'm very, very happy to see you, friend.
Well met.
My
Your
name is
town's
Oh, go ahead.
your town seems quiet and quite pleasant. Kind respite from the travels.
Yes, yes, we do our best. My name is Samuel Stock.
Samuel. I'm Rasay.
Say, what an interesting name. And, well, what brings you through Canny, Rasay?
Uh, well, looking to learn more about the land and see what fortunes may be found.
Well, if you need anything for your travels, I certainly can help you out. I sell all sorts of things, even things you might not expect to find in some place so remote. I've got rations, traveling supplies, produce from, well, we have one farm nearby, lots of flowers, and he kind of says, and everything is priced very, very reasonably, though if you don't have a lot of coin, I'm happy to barter as well.
So, what would you say your most unique offering is for this town?
I think at this point, go ahead and make a hunt roll.
Okay.
And if you have any skill that's sort of like social interaction type skills, you can get 2 dice.
The only thing she has is being quiet and paying attention, so I don't think
I'll
that's
I'll give it to you. That's enough. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I need, what is that? Hunt
Yeah. Hunt 2.
hunt 2. 5.
I'm going to send you all a link to a Google drawing where we'll be keeping maps and pictures and all sorts of things over the course of this. You're all free to draw and edit and note as you wish. Here is, well, I'm going to upload something to it first, and then I'm going to send you the link. There we are. Pop that in there. Give you a moment to open that. But as you are looking around and, he's kind of going on about like, oh, we have this, we have that. And he's kind of showing you all this really basic adventuring equipment type stuff. You notice behind him, there is a wanted poster. I have put a picture of said wanted poster on the Google drawing. This wanted poster is a picture drawn in charcoal of an almost stereotypical looking wizard, complete with pointed hat and mouth pulled back in a cackle. The eyes, however, have been completely scribbled out, an unusual detail. You have your hunt token as well from your 5. We'll pick up with this in a moment. Let's go to Aram and Asfahan, who went to the bakery.
Yes.
Pies, scones, or scones, if you prefer, bread, and other baked goods greet you in abundance when you walk in. You actually see 3 men they look like 3 generations of men. One of them rugged, very charming sort of ruggedness to him, stubble on his gray stubble on his chin, and a slightly younger young man who looks very similar, wearing spectacles, and then a boy. You can tell they're all from the same family by the look of them. And there is a menu, which I will put on the board. Make that smaller, though. There's a menu on the board. For people watching the video, sweet pies, apple, cherry, pumpkin, strawberry, meat pies, a pie slice, rolls and croissants, scones or scones, vanilla, blueberry, almond, bread loaf, cookies, 5 per purchase. Now the prices here are silver and gold, but that is not the capital G mechanical gold of Trophy Gold. This is all just like pocket money equivalent for you all. The little boy says, "A customer." And the young man with the spectacles says, "Oh, welcome, welcome. We're very, very busy today. Well, not with the bakery, but other things. Can we interest you in something from the menu or from the case?"
Do you trade?
Certainly, certainly. Well, I'm sure we can probably do a trade of some sort. The older man
Rob
says,
slams the carcass onto the desk, onto the countertop.
and I think the older man comes up to you. He says, "I'm Heath Rancher." He says, that's my boy, Albert. And my youngest, Martin. And this is your dear. And you are?
Aram.
Aram. Very good. And you, madam?
I am Miss Fahan. She's just kind of like leaning and like just sniffing like deeply of the smells of the bakery, is kind of half paying attention, is just kind of
occasionally
lost in
intermingled with raw venison. Just,
yeah.
you know.
Yeah. But she kind of says, "Yes, forgive my companion, he has the manners of a carcass."
Well, this is a fine animal. I'm surprised you were able to find it so untouched. Where did you hunt this beast?
There was a clearing just outside of town.
And nothing unusual about it?
No.
It is a deer of good omen. I am a diviner of things, and this deer provided very fortuitous portents to me and my company. I'm sure its meat would be delicious in any pie, or even if you did not cook it in a pie and you ate it for your family. The meat is good. The beast is clean.
Martin whispers to his father in a loud stage whisper, "We haven't been able to make meat pies in some time, Father." Heath says, "All right. So I can give you a bounty of sweet pies, cookies, breads, scones or scones, as you wish."
How long would it take for you to butcher this and make a meat pie?
We could probably have that done fairly quickly, though I still wonder about the meat.
If it is of any assistance, I do work with hides. I can skin the beast for you to expedite the process, and you can investigate the meat for yourself.
Why are you so concerned about the quality of this meat?
Make a hunt roll, Aram.
So do any of my skills, does persistence or strength?
Yeah,
work
because
for this?
you keep kind of like pinging him about it. You can go ahead and roll persistence. 2 dice. Especially you and Esfahan's combined efforts.
That's 2 and a 4.
Take your token, he says. "I'll show you why. Friend, follow me." And he ushers you towards the back. Do you go?
I follow.
Varan. The water is cool and crisp and delicious. I would even go so far as to say sweet in its way. So delicious, in fact, and perhaps because you're so focused on not showing us your face for some reason, that you don't notice that there is an inordinate amount of splashing in the bucket. You expect there's a certain amount of splashing that happens when you drop the bucket into the well, but there's a continued splashing. And indeed, you don't notice when you take a cool, refreshing swallow that something is presently wriggling around inside your mouth. What do you do?
I think Ferran tries to spit the creature out, but I think he's even going to go so far as to use his repel ritual to kind of rid himself of this, whatever it is. If it's got too far down his throat just to cough it up easily, he will actually kind of close his eyes and kind of concentrate on just willing it out.
Interesting. Let's make a risk roll. Alex, what could go wrong here? You don't know what it is, but this is your opportunity to inform us.
I kind of like the idea that in the with this mask as well, the push goes in the opposite direction. You kind of there's a moment where you actually shoot it further back into your throat.
Say that again. Sorry, I was distracted.
I said with since he's got this whole like mask setup thing, and with the panic of the situation, does not repel it out, repels like it pushes in, not out.
Oh, very interesting.
And down the throat.
Yeah. Okay. Jack, what do you suppose this invader does once it's down the gullet?
It lays its eggs.
Very interesting. Let's talk dice, Ferran. Do you have a skill that will help you out here?
I have the skill of rituals, and since I'm trying to use a ritual.
Yeah, tell us about this ritual. So you are trying to do repel, and okay, I'll give it to you. You have a light die. Devil's bargains. Merwin, you can make the devil's bargain. No matter what.
Wow. No matter what. Wow. No matter what, the ritual is going to send a piece of it out so he knows what it is that's made it all the way inside if it goes inside. So no matter what, some of this creature is coming out.
Sure, I'll take that.
You have 2 light and 1 dark for the ritual. Go ahead and roll.
5 light.
I'll think about the complication and you can make a decision later about whether you want to add a die and reroll. Let's go over to Rasay, though. So Rasay, you see this poster. What do you do? And I'll tell you that 40 gold is a lot of money. In game terms, it would equal to 1 uppercase G gold for each of you. That was for Rasay.
Oh,
yeah, you see this poster. What do you do?
Wow. She looks at the shopkeeper and she says, are there a lot of these wizards around?
Oh, what do you mean?
It says a wizard for 40 gold. Are there a lot of them around?
Well, I'm sure it depends on how we define the boundaries of geography with regards to the question. Are there lots of wizards in the world? Probably, though I wouldn't know. I'm just a shopkeep in the tiny village of Canny.
I see.
Are
And
there
who
lots
is
of wizards
paying?
around here? No, just the one
Hmm.
that I'm aware of.
And who pays this reward?
All right. There may be more than one wizard. But this is the wizard, and that's what's important.
I see. And who pays this reward?
I'm actually putting up the money for this.
I see.
I'm putting it up on behalf of the entire village of Canny.
I take it this wizard has caused you some trouble then.
Oh, yes, 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 indeed. I could go on and on about all the trouble that the wizard has caused us.
Rasay will stay quiet until he goes on and on.
For example, well, for example, and principally, the wizard, you'll never believe it. But what he did, he grasaven mesrovas shirmumop. Do you know what I mean?
I'm afraid I do. Oh, wait, I'll use my ritual to see if I can understand what the heck he just said.
Do you have any like preparations you make for your ritual? Like do you do anything beforehand or what?
I might have to do it after the fact in this case, but I would imagine that in this case it would be sort of I would probably instinctively realize that the wizard has done something to either make his speech unintelligible or he's speaking in a language that I don't necessarily natively understand. And so I would break it down into, what do I recall of his mannerisms, his poise, his mode of speech, what I know about the history of this place to try and break down exactly what it was he was saying. So it would take some post analysis, just pondering.
Well, he just says, "So what do you think about that? I'm sure you don't want to get involved, do you?"
I do not understand what you just said.
What do you mean you don't understand what I just said? Perhaps it was just too horrifying for you to comprehend.
That may be true. Perhaps you could tell me again, and if I still do not understand, I will ask my companions to come in and perhaps they will be able to understand the language that you speak in.
We are conversing even now, friend. Listen, I know it's difficult to hear that someone, especially the wizard, could do something so horrible as that. But I assure you it's true. You can do the parse ritual now if you wish.
I do. I will ask him to repeat it one more time,
And then
and
do
this
the
time I
parse,
will
yeah.
actively
Yeah.
parse it.
Rob, what could go wrong here?
I think the past ritual kind of lies to you, and the information you get is actually misleading in some way.
I will offer. Well, okay. Let's talk about dice. do you have a skill or a piece of equipment that will help you here?
Besides the ritual itself, I honestly don't think so. Beasts, plants, silence, tracking. I don't know anything other than the silence that will help, so that I hear the purity of what he's saying.
I'll take silence. Yeah, I'll take silence. I think that's fine. It's kind of in the same vein of like listening and um I'll offer you the following devil's bargain. The devil's bargain is no matter what, one piece of information will be catastrophically untrue. I just won't tell you what.
Totally worth it.
Any other devil's bargains on the table?
Yeah, I got one. No matter what happens, you are somewhat infected by this garbled speech, and you will sometimes find yourself affected by it.
No matter what, you begin to unconsciously and uncontrollably parse like voices from the past from different creatures or entities or beings that used to live in this space.
I was going to say that no matter what, whatever it is that this wizard supposedly has done, it just kind of lodges yourself in your mind, and you find yourself wishing to indulge in that same activity, whatever it is.
Some options here, we're saying.
I'd just like to say you guys are having too much fun torturing me here. Alex, what was yours again?
That you're going to be infected a little bit by this garbled speech. So like, you know, maybe it's a condition or something, but occasionally it might manifest as you having a garbled voice.
Ugh, that's painful. I think I don't know how long that's gonna. It's probably gonna end up being a condition, but I will go ahead and risk that. I'll take that as the devil's bargain.
Sorry, I was distracted again. This should be the last of my distractions. What was the devil's bargain?
The devil's bargain is that I will be somewhat infected by this same effect.
Yeah, that'll be fun. 2 light dice, 1 dark die. Go ahead.
2 light, 1 dark. 6 white.
Very good. We'll come back to this. Aram, Esfahan, do you go to the back as well with Aram?
I don't think she does. I think she's actually is the younger child still up here, or is the
He's
child
still
going
up
back?
there. Yeah,
Yeah.
he's still up there.
While Aram goes to the back, Esfahan is like examining all like the various baked goods. Her stomach growls a little bit, and she looks down at the young man and says, "What was your name again, boy?"
He says, "Oh, I'm Martin Rancher."
Martin, nice to meet you. I heard you mention something about not being able to make meat pies for a while. Then why are they on your menu?
Oh, well, I think we just haven't taken the time to take it down yet. But it looks like we're going to have meat pies again soon enough, so it's just as well we didn't.
Then that is good. Martin, what do you like?
Oh. What do you mean?
What sort of things do you like?
I like to go down to the stream and set my feet in the cold water. I like to roll downhill, especially the hill that's covered in crocuses, and feel them gently drifting on my skin.
Very nice. Do you like candies?
Well, yes, I do, but I'm not supposed to just accept gifts like that from people I don't know very well.
Oh, that is wise, but these are not just regular candies. She takes out her little bag of hard candies and like pulls like 3 in like in a little palm of her hand. They're little like simple hard candy sweets, all kind of like a brownish amber resin kind of color. Yes, Fantasy Werther's originals. But they all have like little like rune symbols like etched onto like the surface of them. And she says, "These candies are delicious, but they are also very good at telling you things. Do you have a question you would like an answer to?"
Very good. Let's do the hunt roll.
Yeah.
You can do it with 2 dice because of the candies.
Yeah, I have runestone Werthers. It's 5.
Good. We'll come back to that. Aram, let's go learn why there are no meat pies presently. When you go with Heath and Albert, they take you a little ways across a yard to a barn. They explain that they're actually farmers and they run the bakery as a side business in the off season. This barn is dimly lit. The door is painted with streaks of red, hopefully paint, but maybe not. In the center of the barn, there is a dead cow. It has been torn open along its stomach like a peeled orange. Its organs pattern the hay-covered floor. They say, well, there you go. No meat pies.
Do you know what did this?
No, but I have my suspicions.
And they are.
The wizard.
What wizard?
The wizard in the tower.
Did we see a tower as we were coming up to
No.
the village? Okay. What tower?
The tower on the hill.
There was no tower on the hill.
Did you see the hill?
I think he considers that for a moment, wondering if he did. But I think he's a bit more prideful.
You may have seen a hill, but you didn't necessarily see the hill.
Very well then. Where is this the hill?
And they take you outside the barn. Faran. Okay, so you are trying to use your ritual to expel this thing, to repel it from you, but you've accepted a devil's bargain that no matter what, a piece of it will come off. Is that what we just decided, or? Faran?
Yeah, the idea was,
Yeah.
the idea was no matter what, he's gonna see it if it comes out, and he's gonna see what it was if it doesn't.
I see. Very good. No matter what, you get to learn what it is.
Yeah.
Very interesting. You got a 5, which is a success, but with a complication. I think the complication is the creature will know something about why you are a defrocked priest. If you care to have this creature going about speaking aloud your business, then leave the roll as it is. But if you care, add a dark die and roll again. But if you don't care, leave it as it is.
What manner of creature is it that would be?
Well, this is all out of
giving away
character.
secrets?
So, yeah, I don't know. We'll find out.
I think I'm going to let that stand because I don't think. Yeah.
Describe the ritual. I'll describe the creature.
I think the ritual is almost Ferran just kind of wills himself into this bout of purging, vomiting that brings everything from his stomach out and onto the ground next to the well, which is probably going to disgust any watching village folk. But it's, you can see that it's like really racking his entire body. It's almost like you can physically see a squeeze moving up his body from below to above, and his throat constricting as everything is forced out. And it's obviously quite an uncomfortable experience for him. And yeah, I think afterwards he just kind of gives one last cough and looks down to see what it was that got into him.
It is a insectile creature, worm-like, about the size of your fist, with a number of lobster-like legs. It's writhing around. It's writhing around, and as it writhes around in a tiny hissing voice, it taunts you. It taunts you with the truth of what happened to you to cause you to lose your place as a priest. What does it taunt you about?
I think it taunts me with a name. The name. Sylvia. And I think when it says that, I understand exactly.
It just,
what it refers to.
Sylvia, Sylvia. Maybe it's just hissing, but to you, that's what it sounds like. But then, two of the kids that were playing in the streets are looking at this scene, and they stop. They become rigid. Their muscles tighten, their eyes widen, and they cry out in unison, "A wizard!" Let's take a 5-minute break. Esfahan, the boy Martin, he's looking at these rune candies, and he says, "So they can tell me anything?"
Yes, in the manner they are able to point you in the right direction, with my help, of course.
Well, I guess I want to know. I want to know if I'll ever see him again.
See who again?
My friend. And he just seizes up.
Does he seem to get better after a moment, or is it like getting worse?
He's just like kind of stuck there. He's grinding his teeth.
She holds up her hand like, don't try to speak.
Can you... Do you know your letters, boy?
Yes.
Can you write his name? And if you start to freeze, stop.
He does. He writes a name, Stephen.
Stephen. Okay. You
Rasay.
want...
Rasay, the shopkeep. Once he says it again and you're able to parse it. What was your die result, Rasay?
I rolled a 6.
You got a 6. Okay, yeah. When you're able to parse it, what he says is, the wizard kidnapped the blacksmith's sons in order to turn them into apprentices, and we don't think they're ever coming back.
See. Well, we can... I will speak to my companions. We will see what we can do to help. Does he need to be brought here alive or not?
No.
I see.
Death. Death is the best solution for a wizard. The wizard.
And where would we find this where do you know where he is by chance?
The ranchers know. Speak to the ranchers. Indeed. Aram. The ranchers show you said hill. And indeed, said tower, which you can just barely see like a little finger of shadow on the skyline. You have to get closer to get more details. But he says, that's where the wizard is. That's where the wizard lives before it does this. we've actually agreed, come to an arrangement with Samuel Stock. He's going to help us with the wizard. He wants us to be able to stop the wizard from doing this to our cattle. And so he's put up the money for that.
How much money?
And he tells you an amount that equals 1 gold for each of you. There's a poster in his shop.
Aram considers it, and I think without saying anything, just sort of starts to turn back and head down back towards the bakery. But when he gets through into the front of the house where Isfahan is, he'll just go, "There are guts back there, cattle guts. Do you want to read them?"
I'm in the middle of something.
He just sort of looks down at the boy and then back at his fan.
I will give
What?
them a look when I'm done.
You should probably also know that there's a reward out for the perpetrator.
It's good to know. As for you, boy, she like takes the hand of 3 candies and just says, "Okay, see him again." Just like tosses them up in the air, lets them like fall on the counter, reads the individual runes to parse their meaning.
Do you want the answer?
I would love it, yeah.
You'll never see him again.
Signs are unclear. She like swipes them back under her hand. I'll try again later. Have a candy. I give him one.
Farhan, perhaps distracted by the children screaming "a wizard" in unison, the creature manages to scuttle away back down the well, which causes the children to calm down. What do you do?
I think I look toward them and say, there's something living in that well. Do you children drink from here? Do the people in this village drink from here?
Yes, there's nothing living in the well except for sweet, cool, delicious water.
Infestation is in there.
And then one of the kids says, "Infestation, don't be silly. I don't know what an infestation is, but I'm pretty sure it's not the sort of thing that can happen in Canny."
And why is that?
And the boy says, "Look around."
I have seen. But impurities and corruption always lies beneath the most innocent of facades. Even yours, boy.
They give each other a confused look and just laugh and then run off. I'm going to give you a condition, Sylvia, though, to memorialize the incident. So, Rasay, what do you do when you're done at the shop? Do you meet up with the others?
Yeah, I will step outside.
You'll see Aram and Isfahan probably coming out of the bakery heading towards the barn. You'll see Farhan as the kids run off laughing over by the well.
I will wave at them, and let's assume the well is sort of equidistant from all of us, and we'll meet over there near Farhan. I say the shopkeeper is offering 1 gold for each of us if we can take care of a wizard problem they have in this town. Apparently, the ranchers know where he is.
The children said something about a wizard as well.
Yes,
By the
apparently,
way,
the wizard has kidnapped the blacksmith's sons for apprenticeship and doesn't seem likely to return them.
Svehan and Aram, did you come over, or are you back going towards the barn?
I was going to go back into the barn to look at those entrails.
Yeah, Aram's with her.
I think when you get there, Albert and Heath are getting ready to clean up the guts.
Stop.
They turn and they're like, what? We can't
Do
just
not-
leave this beast in here like this.
I'm not telling you to, but I must look first. She swears in some other language and just says, I can read entrails. Let me look. How long has the beast been dead?
They look at each other and they say, 2 days.
Okay. Fine.
That's
I look at
plenty long enough for it to be laying here in the barn like this. We need to get it cleaned up.
Yes, I do my thing quick, then you move beast out and do whatever. Preferably burn. She just kind of like rushes her way past the ranchers and goes to like survey the carcass, and it's not as preferable a means of divination as freshly pulling them out, but there might be signs to glean here. In addition to that, I want to spend a hunt token to find something worthwhile amidst the mess.
Oh, very intriguing. Very intriguing. I will tell you that the entrails are very clear on the matter. The matter being that a wizard did this. The treasure that you find inside the guts, nestled almost like a bladder stone or some other kind of foreign matter, is a perfectly shiny, beautifully faceted onyx, worth 1 gold.
She kind of holds the onyx in her hand for a moment just before pocketing it away in the heavy cloak and looking at the entrails. She looks confused and she kind of like glances back at the ranchers, glances back at Aram with a look of just like, huh? But she kind of like stands up and like wipes the gore from her hand and just says,
What did you find?
I don't understand its meaning. It just it just told me that this is the work of a wizard.
We should find the others.
Yes, I think so.
You too. And he turns back towards the ranchers, the bakers. When will those meat pies be ready?
And I think Heath says, probably by the time you get back from the tower. Certainly by then.
Very
You're
good.
going to go chasing the reward, are you not?
I don't think he says anything back to that. I think he just sort of looks to Esfayan and just like points his head towards the exit and starts to make his way out.
She nods and follows.
You can meet up with the others and you can all be caught up on all the various relevant bits of information. And so, what do you all do?
You should all know there is something in this well.
There is
Do not drink the
something.
water.
There is something in this town. I feel is not a good thing.
As I said, corruption lies beneath the surface, everywhere.
Yes, yes. Do not preach to me, priest.
The wizard is at the heart of this all. Corruption is to be expected.
It is not small matter to kill one skilled in the arts of magic, but
The reward is good. Perhaps these townsfolk will be true to their word, and perhaps there are more riches to find. I did receive a good omen that we would find many riches here.
Risay, did the shopkeep say whether or not the wizard's supposed to come back dead or alive?
He seemed to say that having the wizard fish would be appropriate.
What?
The wizard fish.
The wizard fish? What do you mean, the wizard fish?
Wizard is a fish?
The wizard likes to go fishing? I don't take your meaning.
Whatever that wizard did to the shopkeep now is happening to me, I think. The shopkeep's words. You don't understand what I'm saying?
Well, I understand what you're saying now.
We understood the words, Risse, but the meaning eluded us.
We can do what we want.
Yes.
So dead it is.
Dead, it would be nice. The young boy at the bakery mentioned a missing friend, Stephen. The shopkeeper does not have children, does he?
He did not mention his own. He said the blacksmith's sons were taken.
Perhaps one of the sons is Stephen. If this wizard took these boys, perhaps it would be nice to meet this blacksmith and see what he knows.
Indeed, what she knows. If you head over there, it's not far. You see a woman hammering away. She is, let's describe her. Stocky, coal-dusted hands, orange hair. It looks like she primarily sells metal artwork and trinkets. But she has all the necessary equipment to repair armor, I suppose, if she had to, but she probably doesn't do any business in that, not much at least. And she's just pounding away, and she looks up and she says, you're the visitors that has the township in such a fuss.
Yes.
We did not mean to cause a disturbance.
Well, if you have any armor that needs to be mended, I'm happy to help you out with that. I don't often get to work on such things.
Your children, where are they?
My children?
Do you not have a child or children?
Well, yes, I do, but they were taken from me by
whom?
This is the same thing. No, stop trying to speak, woman.
No, speak.
She's seized up and she's biting down her teeth so hard you can almost hear them starting to crack.
Someone should help her.
What is it you are trying to tell us?
Stop trying to speak. Write it down. It worked for the boy at the store. Listen to me. Take a deep breath. She looks over at Ferran and says, I noticed the boy at the bakery had some sort of curse upon him. He could not speak the words, but he could write it. If you can write, please write what you are trying to tell us.
With trembling hand, she takes parchment and quill, and though you can tell she's not completely versed in her letters, she makes out very simply, the wizard took them.
This wizard, where can we find him?
Aram. The wizard can be found on the hill in the tower.
Oh, yeah. He'll just say, the hill.
Which hill?
He'll go ahead and point in the direction that he was shown.
Mm-hmm.
Is one of your boys named Stephen? I see. I think we have a hill that we need to find.
The wizard to kill.
Yes.
Or to force to repent.
I prefer kill.
If it is necessary.
Which it is. And Ram will start just walking in the direction of the hill.
Does everybody go in the direction of the hill?
Indeed.
Yes.
Yes.
The tower on the hill. From a distance, the wizard's tower lies on top of a grassy hill, surrounded by flowers. It's enormous, actually, stretching high up into the sky. As you get closer, you can see that it has an odd shape, bending back and forth, and dotted with bulbous growths as large as a house. It's just enormous. As you get even closer, though still a safe distance away, you can see that the tower is composed of a sticky, fibrous material, pale blue, and sweet-smelling. So sweet, like slightly burnt cotton candy. The color is very particular too, being like the color of sky. And if not for its pleasant smell and its delicate color, or I should say, if not because of the large growths on the side of it, its delicate smell and color would be pleasant.
Rusay,
Yes.
does this look like any wildlife, plant life you're familiar with?
Does it look like anything from that used to be normal?
No.
She'll sort of blow her nose in that, just sort of cough and blow her nose and say, "Nah, not at all. This is nothing natural."
I will note here that your
find.
Sorry, I'll note here that your previous set goal is complete. You explored the village of Canny. You don't have a new one yet, but what do you do? Sorry, continue, Faron.
We should not expect to find normal, wholesome construction techniques, I suppose. And he's going to start looking around for an entrance. If there's any kind of openings or anything that looks like a door, or
Make a hunt roll.
I don't really think I have a skill that'll help. I do have a mallet in my backpack equipment though, so perhaps some tapping on the
Sure.
on the side of the thing to see if there's a hollow.
Yeah, you can roll 2.
A 6.
Very nice. Take your token. At a glance, a quick circuit around the tower. It's not that quick because it's pretty big in circumference, but as you make your way around it, you actually see no entrance. It appears to be just these knobby growths, which as you get closer, you can see now actually glow. And the smell is very strong. It's so sweet in your nose. But it seems to be sealed up.
And there's no kind of difference in sound as I tap around.
And that's the
this
thing. You
mallet.
tap around and you just hear this kind of thick, heavy, slightly squishy padding sound. There's some give there. But you find the door. As you get to a certain point near the bottom of the tower, as you're walking around, tapping around, the door actually makes a wet, sucking sound. And recedes into the wall. A portion of it does. Leaving a gap that you can walk into.
This is unsavory. I think we must bolster ourselves and root out whatever is afoot here.
Well, Ferran is looking for an entrance. If it's okay, I'd like to use one of my hunt tokens to find some treasure around the tower.
Of course. I think you find a roll of decently, like, pretty good shape, a little rusted, but nothing you can't clean off. A roll of blacksmith tools that look like they were dropped. The grass has grown high around them, but they're worth 1 gold, especially to a blacksmith. Her name, by the way, was Mia Forge. Esfehan, what are you doing right now?
I was about to say, I think while Ferran's looking for the door and Aram is looking for things, Isfahan's stomach is grumbling quite loudly. Breathing in the smells of the bakery made her very hungry, and this somewhat burnt cotton candy smell, it's also very tantalizing. She is using that hunger, that really kind of the pains, the twisting knots of just salivating hunger to elevate her mind, using that pain as a way of altering her mind to just kind of like take a deep breath in, deep breath out, take in the vibe of this place and see what she kind of like, almost like meditating, just standing and using her her hunger as a tool to see if she can receive some notion of what has happened in this place, what the strangeness here, what
You can
what
make a
does this
hunt
mean?
roll.
Yes, good. 4.
I don't think you learn anything in particular,
Yeah.
but you do get your hunt token, and you encounter something terrible. From inside, it's brief and muffled, but discernible. A sound. Ah! Rasay, what are you doing?
Rasay is not really wanting to get near anything so unnatural, but so when she's following Ferran around as he's searching, and when he finds the entrance, she'll realize that she's been so preoccupied with the unnaturalness of this place that forgotten what she's forgotten all of her training. She gets a tight grip on her spear, and she'll look inside the opening and see if she can. Is there more than one path, or is there only one hallway? How does this thing look?
Make a hunt roll.
She has tracking, so she's looking for a way to indicate which way to go.
You can have 2 dice. Go for it.
Right. Hunt. There we are. 4s.
Terrific. I have put a new illustration on the board just to give you a sense of what it looks like when you look in, at least as far as the illustrations go. Take your token. This is some sort of entryway, a foyer of some sort. It is spacious. It is dim. There is a sweet scent. It's very strong and pungent, the same sweet scent. It's dim. It is illuminated by these round globules set in the walls that glow in the same faint blue as the structure itself. The fibrous quality of the tower's structure patterns the walls and floors with circles and spirals. Do you step inside?
Yes.
The floors are sticky and they make a smacking sound as you walk across them. You see in this large, it is quite large, round space, in addition to the doorway you come through, you see what appears to be 3 other doors. They have the shape of doors, even though they're not on hinges. They have the shape of passageway openings in any case, spaced roughly equidistant around the perimeter of the circular foyer. What's everyone else doing right now?
Baran will be stepping inside with Rasay, and I think he's trying to puzzle out what kind of material this tower is made of. Does it look like it could be organic, like something that was extruded by a creature?
It does look
kind?
organic, yes. No roll needed.
Yeah, after hearing that scream, Esfehen is gonna walk inside as well.
Everything is as I've described it previously. Then what?
I think she's standing, like, looking at the various doors, looking at the passages, and is discerning if there is a sign as to what goes where, but is otherwise keeping quiet and letting her companions take the lead on this.
You have a brand new set goal. The set goal is for the initial floors of the tower. The set goal is put your hands inside the keys.
Aram is intentionally the last one in. And I think because he is, I think no one really gets a sense of how, I think, tense he is as he's going inside this tower. His hackles are up. But when he does get inside, seeing these 3 doors, we all heard the scream, or was it just Esfehan?
Probably just Esfehen, because Esfehen was like kind of in a weird trance state. It was not loud to begin with. So
Yeah, that makes sense.
it might not have even been actually auditory. It might have been something Esfehen just intuited, right?
Then Aram will go up to Faran and ask, "What do your gods say? Where should we go?"
We will have to go to the very heart of this place, but and I think Baran will be looking around trying to figure out which of the doors kind of leads more toward the center of the tower, if any. If I can try and calculate by the dimensions of the outside and which
Indeed.
direction they're heading in.
Well, I will tell you that the ceiling up above you is dark, and if it were well lit, you might be able to see all the way up the middle of the tower for all we know. But all you can see with the amount of light you have is that it's just dark and shadowy up above. If there is a way to get higher, it means there's probably a stairway of some sort that wraps around the exterior, which means it's probably to be found in one of these rooms, or perhaps all of them, who knows.
Yeah, that was kind of the next thing I was going to look for is there any sign of a way to go upward?
Just make a general hunt roll, see what you can learn.
I don't have a lot of skills here. Yeah, okay. Let's just do a 1 die. I'm sure this will be fine. 5.
Take a token. Let me take a look at my... I think from this vantage point, you can't figure out anything in particular about how to get to the higher levels. Probably what I've suggested earlier is true. There must be a stairway or something resembling a stairway somewhere in one of these spaces. But in this central space, there's nothing like that. I do owe you something terrible, though. And I will tell you that from up above in the shadowy darkness, you hear what sounds quite distinctly like inhalations and exhalations. Quite loud, quite rhythmic. Rasay, what are you doing right now?
There were no tracks as a result of the 6 I rolled on the last hunt roll.
No, you didn't find any tracks.
Okay. In that case, she will get used to the terrain, I guess is the best way to put it. She tries to figure out, even though this is an unnatural place, how to move about, if not silently, as quietly as possible, disturbing as little as possible.
Oh, that's interesting. Yeah, I like that.
So if she has to move slower, she will. But she's going to move to each of the doorways and listen carefully to see if there are any differences in sounds coming from any of them.
Make a hunt roll.
Silence going to help here?
Sure, yeah.
4 and a 2.
Take your token. I will tell you you'll learn a few things. While this tower is made up of organic material, most of it is quite inert. It has no particular reaction to your steps or your poking or your prodding. But there are parts of it that do respond, like the doors, for example. Indeed, the first door that you come across, and I need to look up my little map here to make sure I'm telling you the right thing. So as you enter, you're facing the north. So we'll say you're going in a westerly direction, left to right. That first door on the western side, it begins to open as you approach. It does that same kind of sucking recession. It's almost like a, kind of one of those like sphinctery doors, What else do we call those? I don't know. Yeah. I mean, it's a great way of putting it. I think it's vivid. The door begins to sort of like suck open. And if you step back, it recedes, it closes again. So it's proximity based, right? That's the first thing you'll notice as you go. Do you continue around the other doors?
Yes.
The second door, which is the one on the northern side, has no reaction to you whatsoever. And the third door also reacts in the same way, as if it wants to open as you get closer. Everyone else will be aware of this.
I see the
Sure.
doors are dilating.
Apart from that one,
Yes.
which suggests to me that is the way we should go. I'm curious, you mentioned this breathing sound, and I think Varane wants to put his hand on the wall and feel if, does that breathing sound seem like it's reflected in any kind of vibration going through the wall, as though the building is the thing that's breathing?
No.
That's somewhat reassuring.
Well, we have 3 means, 1 closed. Why don't we at least see what is beyond the open doors before we decide to forcibly insert ourselves to the closed one? Perhaps there is a key somewhere, Ferran.
Do you think that's wise?
Wise? No.
Perhaps this wizard wishes us to go in a direction that may not be to our advantage, and therefore we should thwart his intent.
I will tell you that the door that won't open has a large round depression in the center of it. Sort of a semi-circle or semi-sphere. Like something should be placed there, Resident Evil style.
Right? Candy to whoever wants to put their hand in that.
Aram will approach it. He won't put his hand in it at first, but he's going to take up his cudgel and sort of just insert the tip of it in.
Nothing happens.
Shrugs.
Is it kind of hand-sized?
It's about fist-sized, I would say, yeah.
You don't need to bribe me with your indulgences, Isfahan. And Ferran will reach forward and kind of put his hand into this hole.
Weirdly enough, this is a hunt roll. Make a die roll.
This isn't an omen, I take it, so.
It is not.
4.
You get a token. Nothing happens when you put your fist in to that dilating door. But you do hear something on the other side of it, though. You hear...
Someone or something is on the other side of this door. It sounds as though it is in some discomfort or delirium.
Well, then should we break it down? Tear it open?
That would be my surmise, yes.
Aram, you're the strongest of us. Would you care to do the favors if you find it agreeable?
I don't find it agreeable, but I will try. And I'm going to use my ritual yoke. And I think that when he sort of puts his hands into the hole, the tattoos on the side of his head that are sort of like in that abstract ram horn shape start to sort of glow. But he's going to try and just like pull it open and tear it open.
I will tell you that I'm not going to have you roll. Even with your great strength from the yoke ritual, the door always reforms. Even if you're able to split it open just a little bit, the sort of gooey material quickly reseals. But not so fast that you can't get a single glimpse of what lies on the other side. On the other side, a glimpse of a person, a young man, perhaps, wearing robes. I say a young man, perhaps, because the skin on his face looks like it is melting, which probably explains his pained expressions.
Yeah, seeing that, I think, shocks Aram out of the ritual. And so he just sort of pushes himself back. The tattoos stop glowing and he just sort of staggers away. I think we're going to need more than what we have to get in there.
What did you see?
There is someone or something on the other side.
Kind of someone. One of the blacksmith's boys.
I don't know. Their face was too damaged to discern an identity.
Well, looks like a trap or no trap. We have 2 doors that are cooperating. So, boys, and Rese, left or right?
Say will motion with her spear to the left entrance.
The western one?
Correct.
Then we follow the tracker.
Indeed, indeed. Let's take a 5-minute break. When you open up this door, and indeed it opens automatically when you get close to it, you see this room, which is about probably in total width, about maybe a fifth of the size of the foyer, and sort of oblong shaped. But it's a long and thin kind of shaft, high ceiling going up. There are actually what appear to be scattered footholds along the wall. At regular intervals, the wall can be traversed, probably at some danger. There's no railing or anything. It's not exactly stairs. But perhaps most interestingly, you see long strands of sticky blue material threaded haphazardly across the entire space, up and all over, like chewing gum pulled. Taffy, right? What do you do?
Can I put in my backpack equipment a pet rat?
Sure, yeah.
I would like to try and see if the rat can sort of scale the walls and get a sense of the geography.
Make a hunt roll with 2 dice. Great use of backpack equipment, by the way.
That's a 5.
The rat can leap between the closer footholds. You are big enough to be able to go up all of them. And he's scampering up. Gets pretty decently high. When you see one of the sticky blue tendrils writhe over and snatch the rat. The rat makes a squeaking sound, pulls it up into the shadows, and you hear that and the rat's not seen again.
So we stay away from the tendrils.
It will be difficult. They are all over the place.
Maybe we go look at the east chamber before we decide to climb here.
Rom shrugs.
that's what-
Rasay shrugs as well.
Yeah,
And-
Svehen's gonna walk out.
She mutters some gibberish about gray lamp, black paper parchment, and marches out.
Very well. The other door. At a glance, the room. It's much smaller, very small, in fact, almost cramped. There are a number of thin stalks, 4 of them, in fact, extending from the ground. And each stalk is lit by a bright bulb overhead, and there is a pale blue robe hanging on each of these stalks. That's what you see at a glance, anyway.
Did you say a blue robe hanging from each stalk?
A blue robe.
Okay.
What does this mean, do you suppose? Is this the wizard's closet?
A coat room, perhaps?
Varan's gonna reach out and just try and pull one of these cloaks off the stalk it's attached to.
You grab it. It's warm to the touch, like warm taffy in your hand. It's just been pulled.
But it comes away from the stalk, and
It does indeed.
I just kind of drop it on the ground and
I have an idea. How many cloaks are there?
4. One for each
Oh.
of you.
I don't suppose I could talk any of you into wearing this.
You first.
Very well, very well. She'll take it and don it.
Indeed, it has a cowl and it's like a cloak and a cowl more than a full robe. And it sort of hasps itself, just makes kind of a sticky sound and seals up around the neck like it should to hang. And you're just suffused with that sweet smell now. It's just like so strong. In fact, it makes you a little nauseous. I'm giving you a condition, nauseous.
Ugh. Perhaps, and this is just a hunch, wearing these allow transit past the blue tendrils?
Perhaps.
it's worth trying.
It is blue, they are blue. I'm sensing a theme here, and I would like to play into it.
Of course you would. And I
I'll
think
take the-
Herbron will watch the others put on the robes first, just to make sure that they get it out of the way.
Are there any exits from this room?
No, but you can do a hunt roll to look around generally in the little room. There's no obvious exits, I should say.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm not interested in a hunt roll just yet. There's all kinds of nasty things that
Regrettably, asking the question triggers
Damn
the
it!
move. That is the rule of the game.
Curses. Well, all right. Hunt it is. Tracking to see if there are any other exits from here.
Of course.
A 5.
Take your token. No exits, but you do see a piece of parchment on the ground just behind these 4 stalks.
I pick that up before I pick up the rope.
The parchment has a single word written on it. Prepare.
Rasay will sigh and pull off one of the robes. She says, this feels like purple plastic cotton weave. And she just shakes her head.
Whatever it is, in your gibberish language, it is very sweet smelling. Take the condition nauseous. Aram, Farhan, are you putting on the cloaks?
I think so. I'm guessing that
Nope.
means we say take the same condition.
I don't know if Aram is going to put it on just yet. I think he'll take it, but I don't think he'll put it on just yet.
Farhan, if you put it on, you do take the condition. Esfahan, you've had yours on for a few minutes now. It's getting hotter.
Ugh.
Indeed, you can start to feel it. Oh, how should we put this? Like it's fusing to any exposed flesh. It hurts. Indeed, it finds your hands, your neck, your face. It's trying to fuse with your skin.
I rip it off. I'm gonna try to get it off.
You can, as long as you take it off quickly, you can.
Yeah, quickly. Okay. Cloak's off. Nope. Off.
What is it, Esfahan?
Take it off, and I tell you.
Rose will rip hers off. She suspected this all along anyway.
Same. Yeah.
I felt it began to try to fuse with my skin. It was quite warm, unbearably so. I think it is a matter of time. The longer you wear it, that is when it happens. If these are useful to us, maybe we'd have to make a hasty climb if they do anything to protect from those tendrils.
We should see if that is the case before we. And I think, yeah, Farhan will head back to the western chamber carrying his cloak and see if I want to kind of holding it out, see if these tendrils react when they touch it in a similar way to they reacted when they touched the rat or not.
They don't. Esfahan probably has the right of it. The cloaks infer some sort of invisibility or protection against the tendrils.
It seems you were right, Esfahan. So is our approach to try to be quick?
Can you not repel things?
Yes. Would you be able
Living
to?
things.
And we are living things. It is hazardous, but are you able to push us up per se?
But try.
Nose goes.
Does anyone have rope?
Rose will raise her hand.
Definitely having
I
like a anchored rope up top will make ascending much quicker than trying to scale these weird footholds.
And I have these, Farhan says, pulling one of his iron spikes from his pack. Perhaps we can fashion a man of ascent.
I don't know how I might be able to contribute here, but if you are wearing the cloak, I can perhaps attempt to ward you against it. It's typically small areas, so the less flesh you have exposed to this thing, the better. I do have something in my bag. She'll pull out a furled up winter wolf pelt, which I intuit to be quite large. And she says, is going to be quite warm and uncomfortable. But I think if you don this over yourself and then put the cloak over top, it should protect more of your flesh that might be exposed. And I can protect what is not covered.
Well, in that case, you may not need the the ritual at all. You might just be able to get that person to scale
Oh, okay,
up.
cool. Yeah.
Yeah. We have options here. I think if someone wants to just straight up put on the cloak and try to carefully go up the footholds, they'll be able to do it as long as they take their time. Unfortunately, taking their time means that the cloak does fuse with their skin, increases your ruin by 1. But you get up safely and can anchor a rope up top for everybody else. Option 2, you do some sort of ritual to get the person up faster, but of course that person is invulnerable to the ritual and any negative effects of said ritual. Esfahan's option is very interesting, and I like it as a sort of problem-solving option as long as you cross off the winter wolf pelt, and indeed we cross off the rope and the spike. I won't require any rolls at all. You can just do this.
I'll take that option. And I have a grappling hook, so we can use the
Perfect.
grappling hook instead of your
Great.
spikes.
Yeah.
Great.
So
Even better.
Happily.
Let's just have the scene then. Whoever
Yeah, I
wants
think-
to kick it off.
Yeah. It's Rasay who's climbing up.
yeah.
Yeah, Esfahan takes the Winterwolf pelt and walks up to Rasay, and she, kind of like dons it on you, and it's a thick, heavy, warm pelt. But she kind of, tucks it into parts of your clothing, your belts, your armors, just to really kind of cover you with what is exposed. She kind of like surveys you over and just goes, "Okay, should be good."
I hope so. I don't want to feed the purple parchment.
Of course not. Gah.
If you feel yourself flagging, Rasay, say the word and I will see if I can assist you in your climb.
Don't
She
die.
nods. And she'll put the robe on over the wool coat and start finding her way through the footholds with the rope trailing and the grappling hook ready to hook onto a surface when she gets to the top.
Very good. You get to the top, which we'll describe in a moment, but you are able to quickly get the grappling hook and rope situation sorted out, which will make it easy for the group to put on their cloaks long enough, or gives, that they'll be able to get up there without the cloaks doing too much damage before you have to take them off. And everyone can make the trip up to the second floor of the tower.
Question: do I take the condition nauseous now that I'm having the cloak on, even though I've got the pelt over it or under it?
The condition nauseous stays because as you get up to the second floor, the overall smell of sweetness is even stronger. Indeed, you're in this space. This kind of lets up into, there's almost like a little gap in the floor that you kind of pull yourself up onto another large sort of round area, though this one is a little different than the others. For starters, the cotton candy scent is stronger, as I've noted, but also this circle is bisected. Half of the room is blocked off by an enormous stringy sphere, almost like a, how to describe it?
Rubber band ball, but made of sticky
That's
stuff?
what I was thinking, yeah.
That's pretty close to what it is, I believe. Yeah, that's not a bad way of putting it, actually. It's a lot of these like sort of blue tendrils, but it's a big mass of them that essentially cover one half of the room. But otherwise, there are 3 doors. One that's basically to the south, one that's to the west, and one that's to the north, roughly.
And are they all closed?
If you approach them, they do.
I'm just curious if one has like the opening or the
No, none of them have the little opening.
Okay.
Yeah. And then you can't quite make out without a closer examination what's on the other side of the big stringy sphere. But there could be something there as well. And also, because you're trained to listen for it, you hear the except at one point.
Did we do anything different when the sound changed?
No. It did seem like something was distinctly aware of you, though. So, 3 doors, another space, gigantic stringy sphere.
I want to take a closer look at this sphere and just, does it look like it's made of the same stuff as the rest of the structure, or the tendrils that were in the shaft that we just climbed up, or is it something different?
Make a hunt roll.
There's all my tokens on. Oh, no, I'm not. I got 6.
It looks like it is made of the same whatever. I mean, there's a lot of this stuff is sort of the same organic material. It is more of this weird blue organic material. I will tell you, though, that what you see that's maybe more interesting is there's a door on the other side covered by all this stringy mass. You can glimpse it. Asfahan, what are you doing right now?
I think she's going by each door. And actually, going by each of them, like if they open up when she passes by, she like looks inside them, but doesn't like step past the threshold. But the main thing it's more like, that's like passive. The active thing she's doing is thinking about like that breathing sound she's been hearing this whole time, and that hitch. Is this the breathing of? I think she's trying to interpret this breathing, and like, is this the breathing of something that is sick or something that is tired? Just trying to discern what it might mean.
Make a hunt roll.
Interpretation is a good skill, and I like using it.
It's a good skill. Yeah, especially in a weird.
3.
I'll give you your answer.
Okay.
It's mechanical.
Interesting.
But unfortunately, there's something terrible as well.
Yeah.
You're doing your thing, walking around this. It's quite a wide space, right? And testing the doors and looking at the space, trying to like listen to this sound as you're going to try to determine what its nature is. And I will tell you, it's something mechanical, like ductwork almost, right? Even though you can't quite see it because of the darkness. But you're too distracted by all that to notice a person wearing pale blue robes, watery eyes, blue-tinged skin, engorged veins that are even darker blue. He says, "I have a message to share with you. A message to share from the wizard. Come to me." And he's rushing toward you. "Come to me and let me share my message with you. From my mouth to yours." And he rushes forward. This is a combat. It's just a combat for Esfahan to start. Everybody else can join later. Esfahan, he's just an endurance 7, no big deal. But tell me how you're vulnerable and roll a weak point.
Yeah, I mean, pretty clearly that she was just very distracted and not aware of her surroundings, that when this person emerges, it startles her, and she's like, was not guarded up, so she was just in her head. Weak point 5.
Good luck, by the way.
Yeah.
Combat 1.
Yeah, I'm gonna use the weapon I'm gonna use is my Bolt of Arcane Energy. Which for range weapons in Trophy Gold. Remind me how those work.
Oh yeah, that old thing. I'm gonna have to look it up because I don't remember.
Yeah, it's like I forgot.
The ranged rules changed like 19 times before we went to print. So I need to remind myself what they are now. I remember we settled on the thing we liked best ultimately, but it did go through a lot of changes.
Yeah, I remember it does something, and I'm like,
yeah, it does. Give me one moment just to pull this up. In fact, I might pause the recording while I sort it out. Okay, we have it sorted. So with ranged weapons, Esfehen, you have 3 slots of ammunition, or in this case, it's like magical charges, I suppose. You can do an endurance, or you can do a risk roll rather, to reduce the endurance of the creature, which would be helpful because he's a 7 and you can't beat him in 1 roll. But instead of Devil's Bargains, you can add a light die for each unmarked slot of ammunition you're willing to risk. So, and I will tell you that failure means you're going to lose access to your weapon.
Okay, yeah, I think this is she part of this like a reactionary caught off guard. She just hisses some words of command, and a crackling bolt of energy appears, and she throws at this figure that's charging her. So nice. I will attempt the risk roll to lower its endurance. So that's a light die because I'm skilled with rituals.
I'll take it. And cool. You can how many slots do you want to risk?
I'm willing to risk 2.
Okay, so you can do 3 light dice total.
Okay. Oh, I marked 2 slots, but that's a 6.
So it says on a 1, 2, or 3, you lose 2 slots, but you did get a 6. So that's good. And so its endurance is now reduced to 6, and you can go ahead and make the combat roll. Hopefully you get a 6. Let's see.
Oh, yeah, it's worth a shot. Combat 1.
Yep, combat 1.
All right.
Not quite.
And my rune goes up.
Yeah. Give us the combat. What happens here? I'll tell you how the rune goes up, but you just give me the first part.
Yeah, she hisses this word of command, and a crackling mass of eldritch energy coalesces in her between her fingers that she throws out in a bolting arc that slams into this thing's chest, like blowing off like chunks of its shoulder. But in the startling fright, she doesn't react quickly enough to reach for the ritual knife at her belt. As this thing continues to rush forward at her, and she is struck by it, and whatever happens.
I have a picture for you. Let's drop it on the board.
Terrible.
He rushes forward, opens his mouth, and says, "A wizard for you." And this thing, this multi-legged insectile thing, not unlike what almost got in Ferran's mouth, pulls its legs out, wraps around his face. It's there. You can see it wriggling around in his extended mouth, and it spits a gout of acid at you. You also take a condition, acid burns, in addition to your ruin increase. Who do we suppose is close enough to jump in and help?
I will.
Very good. Aram, you can give us a weak point and rush in.
6.
How are you vulnerable?
Well, I just saw this thing shoot acid, and I'm not wearing acid-resistant armor, so it'll burn me.
Very good. You have 3 combat dice at this point. Go ahead, Aram. Woof.
2, 3, and a 1.
2, 3, and a 1. Nobody got hit, though, I guess. So that's good. But it's just at a standstill. Go ahead and kick it off, Aram. What happens?
I think seeing this spray of acid, and seeing Esfehen sort of stagger back, Aram takes up his cudgel and just sort of whacks this creature in the face, trying to like beat it back into its mouth.
Esfehen?
Esfehen like clutches the side of her face, which begins to like burn and blister from the acid. And while she's like hunched over, she draws the curved blade from her belt and like rushes at this thing to slice and stab, but can't really get anything deep, maybe a few shallow cuts with decisive swipes, but nothing meaningful yet.
Faran and Rasay, if you join the combat, that would bump the total number of combat dice up to 1, 2, 3, 4. That would bump it up to 6, which equals the creature's endurance, which I believe means something happens. Look at me not knowing the rules of the game. Let's see here. If the dark dice equals your weak, I know there's a thing here.
I think I might be misremembering. I think it was that if it's ever lower than the number of hunt dice that are, or the number of treasure hunters that are, or the dice, I think like it's
automatically defeated. Yeah, I'm looking.
But I don't remember
now.
if it was equal to or not.
Yeah. Let's see here. If the endurance would go below the number of dark dice being rolled, then no combat roll is required. Oh, I see. So not quite. You got to go one more round with it if you two join. Faran and Rasay, are you joining the fight?
Oh yeah, definitely.
Yes.
Please say how you're vulnerable. Roll weak point.
Yeah, I think we're just in a somewhat enclosed space, and this thing is horrifying and can attack in.
It's actually not that enclosed.
Ways.
It's a pretty wide space. That's why it was able to go toe to toe with Esfehen alone for a little bit.
Yeah, I think just that it's, if this thing can have something climb out of its mouth and attack us, who knows where else things can climb out of it and spit acid from, and how do you defend against that kind of thing? So my weak point is 1.
Rasay is going to try to. She has a plan in mind, which makes her focused on the plan and less concerned with her own defense. But she's trying to shove this creature into the rubber band ball.
Oh, very good. I like it. So that's how you're vulnerable, because you might yourself be caught up into it. So now weak points are 2, 1, 6, and 5. Those are our trouble numbers. I will say, Esfehen and Aram, you can leave the fight if you wish. You don't have to hang around for this.
I think Esfehen will leave the fight. She's got this like acid burn thing here, and it's killing her. So
who do you give your weak point to?
I'm gonna give it to. Oh, who do I feel like giving it to? I'm gonna give it to Faran.
Faran, your weak points are now 5 and
1.
We are at combat 6. Whoever wants to roll, go ahead. Faran, you can roll it since you have so much at stake. 6 and 5 is 11. That's enough to defeat it. There's also a 2 and a 1 in there as well. Faran, you're going to take, and a 5 as well. Yeah. So Faran, you're going to take a couple of hits unless you mark armor.
I'm going to mark some armor. Yes, I think. Yeah.
Let's have the combat. For those who stayed, or Esfehen, how do you disengage? First of all,
after attempting like to swipe a few times, and there are more coming into the fray, she kind of like stumbles back and like shuffles off to the side, just trying to like get away, drawing her cloak in against her, just to maybe mitigate the burning, and is just running off to the side just to deal with the pain.
Keep it going, Aram.
So as he's sort of pulled away from the first blow that he delivered to this creature, I think it starts to just kind of wildly spray the acid around now, as opposed to its focus on Esfehen before. It strikes his stiff wool cloak, sort of melting the wool, and it starts to blacken and peel away. So I'm going to mark that to prevent the ruin increase. But yeah, I think noticing that, he sort of shrugs it off and then just continues trying to whack it, Joe Pesci style.
Faran, you rush in, but it gets the jump on you. What happens here?
Yeah, I think as I'm trying to rush it, it turns and spits more acid, and I'm just far enough away that it has time to get a couple of good shots in on me. But my amulet of protection, kind of my symbol around my neck, I feel the warmth of it, and something causes the acid to kind of just slip past me in a way that is confusing to the eye. And yeah, I just move in there with my Morning Star and try and uppercut its jaw and knock this, take its head right off with the insect creature with it.
Rasay, finish it off.
Rasay is the creature grabs hold of Rasay's cloak as it's flailing to get away from everybody else's attacks, and she will spin around and she'll let it remove her cloak. She spins around and switches her spear from one hand to the other as that happens, and catch it under the neck to smash it face first into the rubber band ball.
You took a hit as well, according to this.
I did. I lost my cloak as a result.
Ah, very good. I think the rubber band ball or the tendrils, it kind of just grabs it and finishes the job. They just sort of like tear apart. And as it's being torn apart, his wild eyes, just as the thing is hanging out and flailing around, he just says, it's a little muffled because he has a thing, kind of in his mouth, down his throat. And he says, "A wizard!" That will conclude our session. I would like for someone to roll 6 gold dice to see if there's anything of use in the parts. Go ahead and roll it, Aram.
Sure.
6 gold. Absolutely nothing. Thank you, gold dice.
Ain't that the way?
Ain't that the way?
God bless Trophy.
That is an awful dice roller to show things that way.
That'll conclude our session for today. And let's go to stars and wishes. Stars are things that you enjoyed about the session, either something in the story or the module or the role play. Wishes are things you hope to see next time. Whoever wants to go first, go for it.
I was going to go big star for all the characters who are quite vivid. Especially, I enjoyed Alex's outrageous Russian accent.
Something Eastern and Slavic and European, who knows?
Yeah, and the kind of creepy vibe I got when Esfahan was offering candy to Martin in this shop. I was thinking, where is this going? This is there's something off about the vibe here. I really enjoyed Mo and your use of the pars ritual. It's just like one of those moments where the game really comes together with the kind of serendipity of this ritual just perfectly matching up with the task you couldn't have anticipated that would need to be done. And it just, that's one of the things I love about Trophy in particular, with these kind of open-ended rituals that are open to interpretation, and that one just fits so perfectly in that moment. And another moment that made me chuckle was Esfahan being a kind of magic 8-ball for a moment when she said, the signs are unclear. It's an interesting module. I have no idea what's going on, but I know the number of times Jason said the wizard in an emphasized way has now got that Black Sabbath song, The Wizard, stuck in my head. So that'll be with me for the rest of the day, I'm sure.
Yeah, when Jason promised something that was quite graphic and unsettling, you delivered, which is great. The vibes are on point and disgusting, and I'm here for it. I really like all the characters so far. Just sort of I guess piggyback off of some of what Rob already mentioned. loved the parse ritual, and I also I've never played with you before, Marin, but I really appreciated your commitment to maintaining the condition. Because sometimes if you're not familiar with the game, it might be easy to sort of forget about that, but you really stuck to it, and I look forward to seeing how that develops throughout the other couple of sessions. As fan, I really liked our little interactions together. I felt like you were a good foil for Aram. I don't really get the chance to play just like very stoic hard asses. So this was like a nice change of pace to not play someone who's just sort of sassy or melancholy. But yeah, Farron at the Well was just such a great visual. And I'm looking forward to seeing more of possible fallout from that, and just maybe seeing some more of our drives get sort of pulled into this whole thing.
Yeah, absolutely. Stars to Jason. The overall creepy vibe that the town of Canny in this Wizard's Tower, it's very creepy. Even without the art to assist in that, it's you're doing a very good job of making me feel unsettled. In many ways, what's going on in Canny kind of reminds me of the False Hydra stories. For those who have read the Goblin Punch article on those. So very creepy, very off-putting. There's something wrong in this town. And knowing nothing about the module, it makes me even more unsettled. So I'm loving that. Yeah, I agree. These characters are really fun so far. I really like Aram being this kind of silent, weighty kind of just, I mean, like the occupation name of Ox is perfect for him, but yeah, like ripping open that door was a very cool moment, especially because we got to see something creepy as a result of it. But it's cool just to kind of see him approach these challenges kind of like head on. I always like it when people do that. I want to star Rob's choice for Farron to be masked. I just think that's cool and weird, and I'm like very excited to possibly see why he's wearing a mask. And
Right from the Loom book. So
yeah, I love it. And Risay, yeah, I agree with the parse ritual is very cool to see. But in particular, I really liked her scaling the wall in the tower, and just like a star to everybody for that was a really cool plan, and how we got to like incorporate multiple different things together to like overcome that obstacle. Very in the spirit of the OSR, as it feels like. So this is very cool and all around. Yeah, loved it. Looking forward to more gross things next time. And I want to know what this wizard is like.
Yeah, I kind of feel like that whole climbing experience was super expensive, but super worth it at the same time. I mean, we paid through the nose for that. But it was nice to be able to say, oh, we bypassed the risk, even though the cost was so high. Yeah, big shout out to one of the things that really appealed to me that I'm gonna have to figure out how to do for my own games is how smooth the transitions were. And this is a star for you, Jason. Don't let it go to your head.
No
But
danger whatsoever, trust me.
It's how smooth the transitions were for narrations between scenes in the exploration of Canny. So when we cut scene to conversation, it felt really seamless. I really enjoyed that. Jack, the first interaction with Aram, Risay was traveling with him for a while, but the first on-screen interaction was like, oh my God, what an asshole. So it was awesome. I mean, just the abrasiveness. I mean, it may not have been he is a jerk, but it's just the personality interactions there were just great. And I like how every character is unique. We're not just a collective group, we're a group of individuals. And that is very impactful in a game like this.
Yeah, stars. I also have a star for that kind of like Alex was saying, I really loved this sort of problem solving approach that you all took to things. I thought that was really fun. We don't get that a lot in story games, you know, and so it, especially because like I think there's sometimes a tendency, especially for like people who are like maybe more inclined to play PPTA games or similar games or even Trophy Dark. There's an intention, there's usually like an inclination to lean towards the danger, but here you were all making like really intentional decisions to like plan for the danger and to avoid the danger. And I think that's what this wants, right? That's obviously what the OSR wants and Trophy Gold as a pretend OSR game wants. But it also still felt really like the RP was really good, and I really enjoyed the characters. I particularly was very fond of Asfahan and Rob's character as well. There was some really good like just like some good like personality touches that we got there. I really quite enjoyed. I also really love the use of the parse ritual. That was terrific. I mean, it's just really fortuitous because that's what happens in the module, and you had that ritual, but it was a good time to use it for sure. Also really love the I actually really love the use of yoke too, even though I knew you couldn't successfully do it. I liked it so much I had to give you something, right? And so I gave you a glimpse of what was behind there. A star for the module. I think the module is quite interesting, and it I ran it with very little modification, if I'm being honest. Like everything that happened is what more or less happens in the module, so that was really nice. I think a lot of that has to do with like I think at this point in my Trophy Gold GMing career, I'm really good at knowing when to dole out narrative responsibility, like who gets to say when something goes wrong and who gets to do devil's bargains. And with the module, I'm much more careful about it because I know certain things have to happen, you know, and so I'm getting better at like managing that. But still, it was really great. I had a great time overall. Just you know, sometimes it's fun just to do a classic dungeon crawl, and that's what this is. Well, you know, obviously it's got its own little personality, but it's still fundamentally just a very classic dungeon crawl. Wish, I'm very excited for you all to figure out the distinction between a wizard and the wizard. I'm very, I love that like none of you know anything about the module because that makes the surprise element just very enjoyable. You know, I'm usually a very writer's room kind of like gamer, and I like for people to know things, but in this case, I think it's kind of fun that you don't really know what's going on. I think that adds to the enjoyment of it. I also want to get into drives a little bit more. I think we have some opportunities coming up, especially to really like focus on some drives. And there's one particular part of the module that your characters may decide not to interact with. I hope they do. I'm not going to like put my thumb on the scale. If you do, you do. If you don't, you don't. But I really hope you do because I think it changes everything in a really dramatic way. So we'll see if you do it. But I think that's all I've got. Any other stars or wishes?
Well, extra wish. Now I want to do whatever Jason did.
Yeah.
That sounds fun.
Tell us not to
Just
bully a 5
put your fist everywhere it can go.
Well, speaking, that's another star. Is a star for myself for the restraint that I had not making off-color jokes.
Yeah, there was so much opportunity for off-color jokes there on floor 1. Okay, great. Well, I'm going to go ahead and wave goodbye to everybody watching the video. Goodbye, everyone watching the video.